You know? So, gotta give some LOV to those who build this. Imagine, eh? Underneath, just to have that water there. So that's what we're gonna go doing, you know. So that's what we're gonna go doing with that, you know. So here's part 2. We already made it on the mountain, and just want to say thank you to the workers who built that aqueduct. Imagine all that labor, wow. Just to have running water inside this, you know, have running water, you know. If I have running water, have running water. Have running water, you know. Have running water with that, so. Just imagine all the kilometers underneath. I just drank water, potable, drinkable water, to have it underneath. All this civilization is a privilege. So, part 2 for the 14th of February. I pressed by mistake the pause button, the stop button, so it kind of reduced, kind of stop recording. So this is part 2. Same day, February, before the Sabbath. Grateful, thankful, my rent paid, electricity bill paid, and so you can come skate here for free. Skate here for free, skate here for free, skate here for free, skate here for free, and that's what it is with that, that's what it is with that, that's what it is with that. Anyways. There we go. Now I see some red. I see some red, that's what I said. Favorite color, so here we are on the march. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid and electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee, and that's what it is with that. And I feel good, you know, and rock and roll, and that's what it is with that. If somebody's having fun, that's important. Joy, I'm joyous now, you know. I guess I could go on the other side, but I gotta go because I don't want to impede, you know. So the best way for me is to ascend by this side, because I don't want to impede it. I don't want to impede in there on their turf, you know. So here we are, second part, February 14th. Raw, real, yours truly, Aspie. You got an Asperger's artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical analyst, and theorist. And World's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet, Gonna get it on the go and gotta get it on the skating rink right there. And here you can come slide, Come do a little slide, or you can come. I got that backpack red, red, red. I got that backpack red, red, red. I got that backpack red, red, red. You can come do a little bit of hiking and get in the snow a little bit. And I love winter, and now I'm Mount Royal, my second home. We're gonna go all the way to the top, discuss my DRT theory, and gotta begin with gratitude. Grateful, thankful my rent's paid, and electricity bill is paid. Got food and coffee, and got some food donated in the backpack, and save some money. Save some money for that pizza tomorrow. So gonna split 50-50 with my anonymous friend on some pizza, and that's how we gotta get doing on the drill, So LOVE to all my willingly loving allies and armies, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. All that willingly loving allies and armies, that's what it is with that. So that's what it is, So some things which we gotta do. Some things which we gotta do, So we gotta do on that. Here we got going up. So we're gonna go up now. Come learn some French over here, Got some good culture. Love for the French, French language here. Can come there, learn a little bit of that good French, sing some rock and roll, and that's what we gotta go doing with that. That's what we gotta go doing with that. That's what we're gonna go do it with that. So it's something which we gotta get on the rolling, So yeah. See? Okay. So back to the top in our hand. I gotta get that rock and roller for the truckers, for the butchers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters, for those on the butchers, on the nurses, on the doctors, on the truckers. Gotta get some LOV. Gotta get some you and me. Gotta get it for the planes. Gotta get it for the lane. Gotta get it for you switcher. And feel the pain. Grateful, thankful I'm celebrating surviving COVID, Celebration for me, marching, celebrating March. 5 years since I died of COVID, Since I died of COVID. It was in 2020. In 2020. Beginning after the 7th of February. But between the 7th of February and the March, and March. So that's about in between what it is, with that. So that's what it is on the go, Yeah. Come on. Anyways, oh yeah, that's that full moon. Support the DRT, dead refusion theory. Pledge your allegiance to our family. That's what it is. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom pledge your allegiance to our family. Dragon versus Trump for the North American Collective. For the North American Collective. This Quebec Canadian was born in the USA 3 times, once as a woman, twice as a man, and served in the same United States Armed Forces 2 different times, 2 different wars, 156 years apart, 156 years apart, 156 years apart. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is now. Truth is, we don't need a border. We need a common passport, do a census, do a census, a common passport, and focus on security, service, and defense, security, where the ports are, and the airports. That's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, you know, so what it is with that, so that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, so it is something on that full moon still until tomorrow, so grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and here you can come do a little bit of skiing and get a little bit of that ski time, you know, rock and roll, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, plumbers, and all those firefighters, and all those who gotta get it on the go and gotta get it on the X. I got. Anyways, we gotta get it on the go. We gotta get it on the now, so that's what we gotta get doing with that. That's what we gotta get doing, you know, so it's something which we gotta get, something which we gotta do, and something which we gotta get on the do, so it's something which you gotta say, something that you gotta spray on the everyday. So being born in the United States post 1776, read that George Patton, Three Glass Darkly. He also believed in reincarnations, but he didn't mention he was my wife in a past life, 26,000 years ago, long ago. There's Orion in the sky, and to my right side, my right arm is the constellation of Orion. To my left is Scorpio. And that means Leo is somewhere in the front. But if I turn it back, that means that Orion is on the left. It's going to be on the left, and it's going to be on the right, or vice versa. So that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with XYZ. So here we are at the Belvedere. That's what we got to get it on the go. That's what we got to get it on the go, you know. So it's something which we got to do. You know, something which we got to do. Full moon, pledge your allegiance to our family, pledge your allegiance to our family, pledge your allegiance to our family. The headquarters of the Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom, the North American Democratic Republic, PPP, Public-Private Partnership, Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom Revolutionary Centers, PPP, Public-Private Partnership, pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits, only friends with benefits, only friends with benefits. Oh, that pyramid is red, that's what I said, favorite color. Look at that red, 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 red. That's what I said. So in theory, if there's a nuclear strike, we'd see a flash, you know? So once we see a flash, that means that there's nuclear warheads. It's gonna be a quick one. So if we see that, that means we have approximately 45 minutes. So let's say there's a nuclear warhead on the East Coast. That means that there's a contingency of 200, 300 miles. So basically we're gonna see a flash in the sky. It's gonna be quick. And we're just gonna see like a mushroom cloud. So after that, well, if we get those 44 tunnels, we'll be able to survive. So that's why we need to build those 44 tunnels. Those 44 tunnels, you know. That's what we're gonna see usually. So it's a quick flash, nuclear strikes. Yeah. So a nuclear warhead, depending the distance from here, whatever, if that's the West Coast, right? That's the East Coast. So it's a quick flash. Just so depending on where the nuclear strike arrives, you know. But in theoretically, we're going to be able to see it from a few hundred miles, a few hundred kilometers from here, from Montreal, kind of. It's just going to be a quick flash. And then we're going to see the, you know, we're going to see a big explosion. So my DRT theory, and my protocols, of course, when I predicted the World War III back in 2019, was open to the nuclear war possibility, but that was just a question mark. That was just a question mark. That was just a question mark. So that's something which is a possibility, because we see that the nuclear protocols have been changed by Russia, and China is building more nuclear warheads. So they had, instead of pausing, it was paused for like a decade, but now during COVID they increased the nuclear weapons warheads capability, and of course they got built 11 times massive structure of whatever the Pentagon is, whatever the Pentagon is, you know. So that's why we need those 44 tunnels. 44 tunnels, which I discussed in the past. Those 44 tunnels based on my protocols and initiatives. So let's say in theory, a nuclear strike occurs on the West Coast. We're not going to be able to see it from here, but we'll be able to see it from the East Coast. If it's a nuclear strike on the East Coast, we might see the flash, because it can be seen from, we're going to be able to be seen from here, from a few hundred kilometers, few hundred miles. It's going to be a quick, it's like a flash of light, basically. Flash of light. So that is the inception of the nuclear explosion. So that's the nuclear detonation, right? The nuclear bomb, which can be dropped from the sky, which can be ICBM rockets. So the YARS the nuclear warheads from the Yars can travel all the way to inner Canada from Moscow, from Russia. It can travel 10,500 kilometers, right? So from Montreal to Moscow is 8,500 kilometers, right? So from Russia, the intercontinental ballistic missile can strike mid-west, up till Midwest, inside the internal Canadian plateau, right? 10,000, of course, it has never been tested for that long, but theoretically, 10,500 kilometers, because Moscow to Russia, Moscow to Montreal is 8,500, so calculate the mathematics. So 10,500 minus 8,500 is 2,000. So in theory, it can strike inner in Canada from Moscow, because they travel ahead towards the sky, so they can cross, and those they can reach right here, right here. So 10,500 kilometers, that means that they can actually reach here and go further in, right? That's what it is. So 10,500 kilometers, the Yars. The North Korean ones, the Chinese ones, from China will not be able to reach here, but they will be able to strike the west coast. So the Russian ICBMs can reach anywhere anywhere between half North America. So the intercontinental ballistic missiles that they built, called the Yars, can reach right here, right on the mountain. They can reach from Montreal to Moscow. It's 8,500 kilometers, so they can't come right internally, right? So that's why I always call for building of the 44 tunnels, 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 you know, the 44 tunnels. So in theoretically, the ICBM rockets, well, only the Russian ones can reach here, not the ones from China. So that's why I call for the building of the 44 tunnels. So now I'm meditating on my having survived COVID again, and the revision that COVID anyways, so that's the ICBM rockets. Contingency plans would be to build more satellites and coast-to-coast defense, like a North American integrated Iron Dome for defense, because my protocols, initiatives, and theories are strictly and only for defense. So back to my celebrating surviving COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. Look at that full moon. Look at that full moon. And being like death, pestilence, and disease, I survived it. And I will to build the forgotten goddess temple. The forgotten goddess temple. The forgotten goddess temple. And North American people's Imperial Coliseum. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum, you know, so that's what I will to build. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum and the pyramid, scarlet, crimson, the House of the Dragon. That's my will to build. So celebrating, I had COVID right after about February 7th, 2020 until about March. Till about March 2020. So right at the beginning, 5 years ago. But before that, that's why I made a little bit of a nuclear war meditation, because I predicted, I got proof of work. I predicted a World War III scenario in international conflagration, which had a multi-layer event scenario to it. Because that's what I am. Fundamentally, I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Fundamentally, I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Fundamentally, I'm an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. So I've been in the World War III mode ever since October, November 2019. So that's why my past videos, you can see, it's my works, geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and that's my Asperger's, you know. I have special interests, so it's geopolitics 24/7. Today we got a proponent to do a census in the North American, Canada, US. Need to get rid of that border and focus on defense, coast to coast. The ports best. The ports and the airports. The ports and the airports. So the ports and the airports as points of entry. The ports and the airports as points of entry. You know, the points and the ports as point of entry. That's what you gotta focus on, you know. So hopefully somebody making LOVE. Love is also important, no? As much as I understand peace through strength, hope somebody making some good love. Black, white, and rainbow, you'll make love, men, women, and with me, yours truly, gotta give some LOVE to my brothers and sisters, blacks. Black men, black women constitute 13.4% of the population of the North American Collective of North America, my neighbors included. Put on the table some hugs and kisses, and let's build those 44 tunnels together across North America. Let's construct those 44 tunnels. Let's construct those 44 tunnels to survive, continue the North American civilizational complex in terms of a thermonuclear war, in terms of a thermonuclear war. In case of a thermonuclear war. Thermonuclear war is possible, eh? Because you ask the question, how come during COVID Chinese government decided to end the pause on its nuclear armament and decide to construct 100 more or something like that in the hundreds to increase their nuclear warheads, increase their nuclear warheads by a big percentage, right? There must be to dedicate resources fundamentally allocated to that question is something which you have to strategize and think about as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. That's what I do on 24/7. So geopolitics is always on my mind. So back in 2019, having predicted the international conflagration, even now, meditating on that point of fact that the CIA, of course, did the revision in consequence to the origins of COVID. I always say the origins of COVID, first and foremost, I don't know myself. I have theories, but first and foremost, I believe it was transmitted from snakes to human beings, but I cannot conclude. It's not concluded, you know. So I cannot fully conclude. If I were to conclude that, yes, that is the case, then if I would be able to conclude that that's the case, then I would be able to say, well, it was something else. But my trinity on COVID, first and foremost, I believe we were snakes, human beings. Second, I don't know. Third, I cannot rule out another possibility. It's possible. What I do know, fourth dimension. See, that's Montreal. What I do know for sure is that before COVID, I had in October, November, before COVID arrived on the scene, and I had it survived it, Americain celebrating my survival and our survival, and hopefully somebody making some good LOVE. So having been on that LOVE, we got to get it on the transmissions. And of course, how it was transmitted, I don't know for sure, but I believe it's snakes, but I cannot rule out another possibility. That's my holy trinity on COVID. That's my holy trinity on COVID. So that's what I know. That's what I know. But I know for sure that before COVID, I had created a workout training program system to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, which resembled the COVID-19 crisis, which resembled the COVID-19 crisis, and resemble it, and of course, it's resembling it. Now that the CIA has revised that the possibility of occurrence having occurred in a lab, the origins of COVID basically being fabricated in a lab is more and more likely. That was the conclusion, but it wasn't, they couldn't conclude 100%. I'm gonna stick to my trinity. First and foremost, I believe COVID was transmitted from snakes. Second, I don't know for sure. Third, I cannot rule out another possibility. What I do know for sure, fourth dimension to that trinity, is that before COVID, I created a workout training program system of which myself have performed more than 372 sessions, more than 372 sessions, and of course, more than those 372 sessions, 372 sessions. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is with XYZ. So that's what it is with the doing, the doers, and that's what we gotta get doing, So that's what we gotta get doing on that, So we gotta get on that gratitude, So having survived COVID, now doing the meditation on potential nuclear war, but ICBM rockets, they can, the Yars 24 from Russia can travel 10,500 kilometers from Moscow to Montreal. It's from Moscow to Montreal, it's 8,500, so they can travel even more internally, more than they can go all the way to the Midwest. In Canada, they can go all the way to the prairies. So Moscow to Montreal is 8,500. Moscow to Montreal, 8,500 kilometers. If it can travel 10,500, that means that it can strike even further than Montreal. Montreal for sure, right? Because it's only 80% of the total distance, theoretically, of course. So these are our theories. So now you beg the question, how come China rebuilt in the COVID during the past 3.5 years to increase their nuclear warheads? Right, and Russia de-signed or not decommissioned, but they annulled a nuclear treaty. So you answer the question, it's possible. We have never been close to a nuclear war as we are now, February 2025. So we gotta implement the DRT, and we have to start building those tunnels, mega mass tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain and inspired by the Montreal Underground Village. We have to. It's something for the future, and stack them with food, and stack them with, of course, to be able to save thousands, mega tunnels like the Cheyenne Mountain complex, really in deep, and do it well so that it could be surviving in case of a thermonuclear war. We have the science, right? The science we have, we just have to mobilize, and we have to implement my DRT theory. So we have to implement whatever the case may be. So we have to implement it. So that's what we gotta be doing with that. So Même pas. Même pas. So the DRT theory I want to discuss now. The DRT theory. You know, that's what we gotta get doing with that. So the DRT theory, we're gonna discuss it now. It's super important to discuss it because by this theory we're gonna be able to build those 44 tunnels. So the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchanger, for the creation of the universal exchanger. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. And keep in mind that my DRT theory contains monetary integration theory, 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 which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So why do I say the motive that I say that my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, is the only solution? Well, since the fact that we paid in 2024 last year 46.5 billion in interest, 46.5 billion in interest. There's the moment. T'es correct, là?
Moi j'aime ça dans le bois.
Ok. Ok. Pas de problème. Hey? Mais moi aussi, de temps en temps, je suis femme. So anyways, as I was saying, back to the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, DRT debt refusion theory for the XYZ, we gotta get it on the do, and we gotta get it on the XYZ. So debt refusion theory. Anyways, that's what I gotta get doing, the DRT theory, debt refusion theory. So we gotta get doing on the go, you know, so we gotta get doing on the go, so that's what we gotta get doing on the X. Debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, DRT, debt refusion theory. Debt refusion theory to build those 44 tunnels. So that's what we gotta get doing on that, you know. So the DRT theory, I'm gonna discuss it now. The debt refusion theory, we gotta get it on that DRT. I'm gonna discuss it now fully. So my DRT theory, we're gonna be able to build those 44 tunnels. We're gonna take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, whatever the case may be. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna take it all. So that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So we're gonna take all the DRT, debt refusion theory. So it includes monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So the Europeans got rid of their central bank. They got rid of the central bank, and of course the Italians got rid of the lira, the Germans got rid of the franc, and that's what they did. They created, of course, the universal exchange, and the euros are similar to that. We're gonna create the UE, parallel to what they did. We're gonna implement the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory. So the debt refusion theory is, of course, my financial theory, which stands for D, for debt, for R, for refusion, for T, and for theory. For debt, for D, debt refusion theory. For D, debt refusion and theory. The debt refusion theory. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. So my DRT theory is monetary integration theory. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. So it's something which we gotta be on the go, and that's what we gotta get doing on the do. So it's something which we gotta be mindful. I gotta let people know who in the woods. I forgot to mention to my other fellow citizens that sometimes the branches fall. So the more they stay in the woods, the more possibilities that the falling branches on their heads. So I forgot to mention, because I know the mountain pretty well. I've been coming here for years and years and years. Back to the DRT theory, back to the debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory, debt refusion theory, the debt our refusion theory. That's what we're gonna get doing with that. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. My debt, your debt, our debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Canada first, preferably implemented with the USA, North America, because this Quebecer Canadian North American was born in the USA 3 times, once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same US Army, 156 years apart. Those wars, 2 wars, different wars, 156 years apart, and here I am. Rock and roll for that North American Democratic Republic, support the dream, pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. My debt, your debt, our debt. We're gonna get it on the go. My debt, your debt, on the go. My debt, your debt. That's what it is, on the go, and that's what it is with that. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt. My 10,000, my 10,500, your 10,000, whatever the case may be, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So all the debt, preferably implementing my debt refusion theory, like the establishment of the NHL, National Hockey League, PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, Professional Women's Hockey League, and of course the XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So yeah, gotta get it on the do. So we're gonna get it on now. So yeah, full moon. So all the debt, public and private debt, private and public debt, public and private debt. My $10,000 to the RBC I got. So add it all up, convert it to US dollars, and add it with the US. It could be extended with North America first, Canada first. And since we pay 46.5 billion, we paid in 2024, and the public interest, we pay the interest on the public debt, the interest on the public debt, the interest on the public debt has more than doubled in just 3 years. Yes, due to COVID, we had to implement those programs, but the fact that it doubled, my solution is, the only solution is possibly that Monday we wake up to a public financial black swan event in the coming days, weeks, months ahead. It's a possibility that it occurs even this February, what's called the black swan event with the public finances of Canada, and we have a public financial collapse. It's on the horizon. It's a possibility. Listen, it's not sustainable. Imagine you or me or somebody else whose debt servicing interest payments would have doubled in 3 years, while the salary has not doubled. The average salary increase has been 4.4%. The average salary increase has been 4.4%. The average salary increase has been 4.4%. The average salary increase has been 4.4%, right? The average salary increase has been 4.4% in the past 5 years. How many salaries have doubled? How many salaries have doubled? How many salaries have doubled? Not a lot. So that's what the same financial mathematical principle applies with the public debt of Canada. Financial mathematical principle. So there's no other way. We're going to have to take all the public and the private debt, convert it, all the public and the private debt. We're going to have to convert it, all the public and the private debt. My debt, your debt, our debt, all the public and the private debt. We're going to have to convert it to US dollar, add it up. That money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. We're going to issue a new currency in circulation called the UE, based on the value of the US dollar. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. U.universal, E.exchange, U.unit. The UE. The universal exchange unit. That's how we're going to get doing. The universal exchange unit, based on the value of the US dollar, we're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. It could be below 9.3, 6.1, 4.18, 7.18. So all the debt, public and private debt, we're going to convert it to US dollars, we're going to add it with the US dollar, and that money, that is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank, and we're going to issue a new currency called the UE, the universal exchange. And with that money, we're going to be able to build those 44 tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain complex of NORAD headquarters, the Montreal Underground Village. We're going to be able to mass finance citizens fitness, to workout, train, exercise because it's good for the mind, body, and the spirit, and mass finance tourism because it done me a lot of good. And when I crossed Canada coast to coast, I got out of that depression and being suicidal and established the strongest spirit of core with my fellow Canadians. And we're going to be able to build the infrastructure, the sewers, more infrastructure. Gonna rebuild the infrastructure, rebuild the sewers, the infrastructure. We're gonna do a lot of rebuilding with that. So that's what it is with that, and that's what we're gonna go doing with that. So it's something which we gotta do, man. We gotta be implementing on that go. We gotta go implement it on that go, and we gotta get it on the XYZ, and we gotta get it on the go, you know. So that's what we're gonna get doing on that, you know. So it's something which we gotta do, the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, and we gotta get doing on the do. So it's something which we gotta get doing, you know. So as you go on that XYZ, you know, that's what we gotta go doing on the XYZ and the full moon there, you know. Beautiful full moon there. So yes, we gotta go doing on the XYZ, and the DRT has to be implemented. Debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange unit, the DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. It is the solution, something very similar, or something very similar to my DRT theory. Listen, make it as a financial principle of a private citizen whose interest payments double in 3 years. He has to reduce the budget, he has to cut. If it's to me or you or us, you have to cut, you have to reduce. If you have to reduce, you have to cut your budget. Right? If the interest payments on other principle double, if the interest payments double, so it's the same principle with the public finances of Canada. The same principle, mathematical financial principle apply. So that's what happened. The interest on the public debt went from 20.3 to 46.5, from 20.3 to 46.5, from 20.3 to 46.5. So do the calculation. 20.3 times 2, that's 40.6, right? It's 46.5 now. It was last year. So more than doubled. And our GDP didn't double. Our GDP didn't double. So that's what it is. So the fact that it has more than doubled. So the fact that it has more than doubled, you can argue with it all you want, but something very similar to my theory is the solution, or the only solution, or something very similar to my theory. There's no other way. Listen, make it as a private citizen, me, you, or somebody else. If that would have been the case, that means that you have to reduce the budget, the expenses, the expenditure. It cannot be maintained. That's it. That's all rock and roll. It just cannot be maintained. That's the mathematical principle. You cannot argue it. That's where we are now with the public finances of Canada. The interest payments, check with Tiff Macklin of the Bank of Canada, have doubled from 20.3 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. That's 20,300 to 46.5 billion. So of course due to COVID, but my DRT theory, we're going to do a lot of good with that and build interceptors and build a North American hawk integrated satellite defense coast to coast, ocean to ocean, to be able to intercept ICBMs in case they launch the nukes on the North American complex, get rid of the border, do a census, join Canada Dragon Army Initiative, Dragon Army North American Citizen, security and service and defense, only security, service and defense, only security, service and defense, and to get that DJ with it, Dancing Goddess Army, North American Integrated Dancing for the Environment, and North Americans Unite. I don't know about that 51st state. Invite us, not by bullying, but by LOV, some parades. And I'm no Trump supporter. I actually entered politics when Donald Trump imposed tariffs of aluminum and steel, 10% back in 2018. So it's going to be 7 years soon, and we need to get that septennium. The Dragon Army, we need to get that septennium, and that's all we gotta do, you know. So there's no arguing where we are now. That's it. The king is absent. DRT theory, you know. It's an emergency. We gotta get North American Union coast to coast, ocean to ocean, you know. Create mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, and build those 44 tunnels. Build, construct those 44 tons. Build, construct those 44 tons. Let your legions to our family. Friends and benefits only here from Mount Royal. Going back to my headquarters now.